Amazing. Meg, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here. Now, I have been very excited about this episode, and we're in person, we're smiling at each other right now, which I always love, and I feel like the listeners can really feel that. Now, you are well known to me in the world of State of Social, and so if you're in WA and have been living under a rock and don't know who Meg is or what State of Social is, give us a little intro into who you are and what State of Social is all about.
Oh, wow. All right. So State of Social is APAC's biggest digital marketing conference. It is the 7th year that we are running it. It is 27th and 28th of August at Optus Stadium here in Perth. And it is incredible. And this year there will be over 1,000 people. All things going to plan, fingers crossed. It's really exciting.
Wow. And what is State of Social?
APAC's largest digital marketing conference, of course. No, look, it is 2 days of absolute fun, but serious fun, like educational fun. It is 2 days of stepping out of the office and taking a holistic, broad look, top-down look at what is the landscape of marketing for the next 12 months. You know, I think in marketing, especially in digital marketing, everyone's like, what's your 5-year plan? Excuse me, what? What's my 6-month plan? Right? Like, are these platforms even going to exist in 6 months? Don't ask me about 5 years. So State of Social gives us a really, holistic look at the landscape of digital and online and everything in that space and where it's going to be in the next 12 months and the trends that you need to be across so that you can be a really good marketer.
Amazing. And I think it's a very good point to make is that, that 5-year, 6-year plan, I think a lot of people will laugh in the face of that now in any part of your business, because if we look at how businesses have accelerated and changed over the last 12 months, and especially, COVID being this big, pinnacle, especially in our business lives, is that there's so much that surrounds that. And I think, looking ahead, especially in digital marketing, it changes so rapidly. And what we were doing 6 months ago is different. Threads comes along, TikTok comes along, something else changes, the algorithm changes, and you've got to adapt with that. Now, this is going to be my first year of State of Social. So essentially today is about me learning what I'm going to get from this session. But essentially what I think I'm most excited about learning from you is puppies.
We have puppies.
You have puppies coming?
Yeah.
There's going to be actual puppies.
Uh-huh. Oh, did you not know that?
No, I didn't.
So you really don't know anything about
I really don't know anything.
We have puppies.
Why do you have puppies? Like, no, not, I mean, great question, why? Good why, but what are the puppies for? Why not?
To cuddle. Because don't you want to cuddle puppies?
Yes.
All right. Your face is fantastic right now.
I love happy.
So State of Social supports Dogs Refuge Home.
Okay.
And so we do a bark out session where you can cuddle puppies for a gold coin donation.
Oh, I'll bring all my coins.
Yeah, and if you don't have coins, it's okay. They take FPOS.
Oh, yeah, smart. If not, let's set them up with that, because that's going to be a definite revenue generator right there for them in that charity. How amazing. So, yes, they really know nothing about what's going on. But I do know you have one very exciting, one guest that I'm very, very excited about. So tell me about him. Why him? Who he is, to those that don't know who the him is just yet.
Okay, so not the puppies, because to me, the most important guest is the puppies, but that's okay. You have Labrador dogs, I have a Labradoodle. We are puppy people in this podcast. But moving on to the educational guests, the important ones, that's what you really want to know. Michael Corcoran. Now, a lot of people might go, what? That name, it kind of sounds Irish, perhaps? Very Irish, because he is ex-Ryanair. You're like, Ryanair? As in the airline, the one that does the funny memes, the one that is like fantastic on social media. Well, the guy that's behind all that is coming to State of Social, and it is the only place in Australia that you will see him for all of 2024.
Wow, that is a big draw card, I guess, as well for you. So he is being, I mean, very well known for his responses as well to many people's comments on the Ryanair post. And I think one of my favourite ones was there was this lad and he had this bum bag like strapped across the front of his chest, and he commented about, you know, the fact that how much it was going to cost to take his bag. And the comment I think below was like, don't think we don't see your bag underneath your jacket, or, you know, whatever the reference was to what he'd kind of snuck on board. And I just think it's where big brands have been missing the mark for so long. And so to see him have some fun with it and be allowed to have some fun with it, I think are two very different variances. So what was the draw to you, and what are you hoping he's going to bring to the sessions?
Oh, I mean, I think Ryanair is one of the most talked about brands on social media for some of the reasons you just said. They have been able to have fun. Not only have they had fun, they've been able to have fun. Mm-hmm. And they're a massive brand. You know, they're not just some small mom and pop business. They are a massive global brand, and they're doing some big things. I mean, they've put some posts out that have made the royal family not very happy. And, you know, there's a podcast I saw of Michael recently talking about the post about Prince William that wasn't necessarily about Prince William, but the royal family thought that it was, and therefore contacted Ryanair and asked for it to be taken down.
Wow.
You know, that's pretty big. You're playing pretty big games when you're in that level of stuff. And I think that that's fascinating, you know, to have, you know, in the world that we live in now where everybody's so risk averse, to have a legal team that lets you put something that might annoy the royal family out. I mean, yes, you're Irish, and so that's a whole other can of worms.
That's for sure.
But, you know, that's the memes that he does, the things, you know, it's never mean, they're never personal. But like there's some ones that he's made fun of the tall people when they don't fit in this, you know, the small seats, and, you know, he's made fun of Ryanair has made fun of, you know, when they don't get a window, and it's like, well, what'd you pay for? And it's, you know, Ryanair very much knows what their brand is. Mm-hmm. They know the parameters of their brand, and they have a legal team that lets them play with it.
Yes.
And I love that. And I think that there's many brands that would die to have that kind of freedom. Mm-hmm. And I think in Australia we are so risk averse. By nature as a country, just we are. I'm okay with that, it's fine. Yeah. But I think there'll be a lot of people that go, we could never do what Ryanair does.
Yeah.
And you probably can't, because there are a lot of brands, and they shouldn't be doing what not every brand. There are a lot of brands that shouldn't be doing memes and sharing things like that. It doesn't suit everyone. But I think he can share some really interesting things in how to work with legal, or how to get things going, or how to be always online without being online.
Yes, we were talking about that off air before, when we were about always being online and always being consuming and always being part of that world. And so obviously you've been doing this now, like you said, this is, you know, a number of years, so you've learned a lot every single year. And you mentioned before you're really excited, you know, I'm sure you say every year, but this year even more so, you've got some incredible people lined up.
Yeah. What
is it that you want people to walk away with at the end of the 2 days, and how do you ensure that happens?
State of Social is not about me. And I think that's how I ensure that it happens. Mm-hmm. I don't make money out of State of Social. I think a lot of people think that it's this big thing that I make all this money, and that's why I don't. I do it for industry. And I've said to a lot of people that the second that I start doing it for money, or that you see me start making decisions for money, you need to tell me, because that's the second I got to stop doing it. Because I think that that's where a lot of things go wrong. It's probably why I'll die poor, because I do a lot of things for love. But I think that's what keeps State of Social honest, and I think that's what keeps it authentic and real, is that the speakers that I'm putting up are because they're important. They're important to the conversation. The program that I curate is because I think is what needs to be discussed in the conversation. You know, I think the theme this year is alchemy. And so when I did it, it was about the magic and the science and how it all comes together and the wonderfulness. And that theme was well before Sora and AI and all this stuff. And where alchemy has now changed, and one of the sessions that we'll be doing is around media literacy. because this country is in desperate need of media literacy, learning what is real and what is fake, and how to see things online and tell the difference. And that magic and science that makes my face light up and go, wow, is also making me petrified at the moment. Because of the bad things that marketing and AI and all of that can do. And so I think that when I put State of Social together, what makes it work is because it's honest, it's authentic, it is going, okay, what are the problems that our industry is facing? What are the challenges? What are the things that we need to know? And I go out there globally and I find the people that are doing it, not talking about it, doing it. And I bring them in. And they're not necessarily always the biggest names. Like I remember we had a couple of years ago during the pandemic, we had Zoe Skayman speak out of the UK. And a lot of people at the time had no idea who Zoe was, had never heard of her. At the time, she was writing some articles and she was really starting to make a big name for herself. And she ended up getting voted one of the top speakers of the conference. Wow. And it quite often happens. We have these people that people go, I've never heard of that person. And they get voted like top speaker. And then a year later or 2 years later, they end up being the CMO of or the big person of. And it makes me feel good because it's like, yes, I found them, I got them when they were still doing the do. Yes. Right? Yes. You know, when they were really still hands in and in the trenches. Yeah. And I think that is what makes State of Social so good. You know, I think sometimes you go to these conferences and, you know, I mean, this is what made me start it, was I was so tired of going to events and just seeing these men stand on stage and go, I am amazing, let me beat my chest, look at how good I am. And it's like, cool, you are cool. What'd you do? Like, tell me about the campaign. How'd the campaign get executed? How? Not like, yeah, you won an Effie, cool. How did you win the Effie? Yeah. I got really tired, because I'm a small business owner, of spending my own money to fly to Sydney and put up the accommodation. And then, because I pay for tickets, I don't get free tickets, I pay for things. You know, it's a $5,000 experience. And I'm walking away going, you're some cool guys. Yes. And I got tired of that. And so I just said, well, all right, well, I'm going to do my own thing. And then, because my background is in tourism, I'm like, well, Perth is the greatest city on earth. Let's do it here. Yeah. And 7 years later, here we are.
Here we still are. And so when you first set that out, obviously, you know, I understand what you've just shared there in terms of why you wanted to do it. And how did you get it out there? What was your strategy back then?
Well, it was never meant to be what it is. It was meant to be a one-off.
Okay.
So Social Media Perth was an organization that I started back in 2013, and it was a network of marketers in Perth. We got together once a month and we drank, because it's what marketers do best. And we would often have a guest speaker and we would do different things. Sorry, I had to burp. So we'd often get together, we'd have a guest speaker, we'd do different things. And so as SM Perth was turning 5, I was like, oh, we should do something. And, you know, I was doing workshops for SM Perth at the time, small, sort of like 3-hour workshops at a local place. And I was like, oh, I should do like a half-day seminar. I should do like, you know, SM Perth is 5. We should do something big. And so I was like, okay. Well, you know, started investigating. And this was at the same time that Optus Stadium was opening. And someone introduced me to the head of sales at Optus Stadium. And it was all over. It was all over from that point, because my little tiny idea at Fraser's King Park overlooking the State Theater, you know, whatever, was like, oh, we could do this here. And at that point, nobody did events at a stadium. It was unheard of to do events at a stadium. So we were one of the first big ones. And so we did the event, and I was like, cool, it's 5th birthday, we've done it. 45 minutes before the end of the first State of Social, the fire alarm went off, and the entire stadium had to be evacuated. Of course, it's a social media conference, so everybody's filming it. Everyone wanting to know. It was quite funny. Looking back, it was quite funny. At the time, I was not.
So much.
No.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I had to do a year 2 because it was like, well, I didn't get to finish. I didn't get to. I mean, we did finish. We went to the campfield. There's a whole. It's a very long story. I won't waste your time, but I didn't, in air quotes, finish. So I was like, well, I got to do a year 2. So okay, we'll do year 2 so that we can come back and give them the full, as we had fully intended, do it properly. Oh yeah. So as I started to gear up for year 2, I was like, well, if I'm doing year 2, like if I'm going to be having these conversations, I can have bigger conversations, better conversations around partnerships and sponsorships, the commercialization of it. If I'm actually talking 2 and 3 years, I can do better partnerships. All right, so fine, maybe I'll do 3 years. Okay. And then I was like, well, I'm going to do that. I'll do 5. I'll do 5 of them maximum. I will do 5 maximum. That's it. I'm out. I'm not an event organizer. I don't know. But, COVID happened and things like that. And here we are going into year 7. And I love it. And I'll probably get to 10. And then who knows? I mean, who knows?
You're going to say, you were just about to say, we'll probably get to 10 and we'll stop. And then you're like, there's no point me saying that, because give the people what they want.
Well, exactly. And I love it. And as long as people love it, then I'll keep doing it.
Yeah. It's a again, and talking from, I think it's exciting for me because I haven't been, and and again, I know who you are and I've heard of the journey, but not coming before, but hearing about what's happening and what's coming. And I think as well, hearing about people that have been or that have witnessed or have experienced from outside of WA, because I think my experience of WA, and neither of us are born and bred, I think people can tell that from from our accents, but again, not being born and bred, knowing that we have there's so much opportunity in WA, so much opportunity, but with that I think comes also the challenges of starting something new. WA doesn't want to be the first. They don't want to be the first people to come to the first conference, to be the first guinea pigs, air quotes. But again, once it happens, they want people to develop things in their state. They want to be able to drive to where they're going to go, not fly to Sydney and spend the $5,000, which is what we are still doing, because there are still plenty of things for us to explore in the States. But I think bringing it is, it takes balls, I think, to do that and to continually do it. Now you're seeing, more and more and more people, and I just have to ask, we're recording today in Vitality House. I think if I popped open that door and was like, hey, who's been to State of Social? I think I'd get a resounding me. I have. Oh no, I'm going this year for the first time. And I think it's great to see and to witness. But again, I think digital marketing's changed, and I was looking at it from a sales lens, and I'm keen to get your take on that in a moment. But digital marketing, should everybody be doing it? We talked about, the Ryanair viewpoint of the memes. But digital marketing isn't just memes. So, from your perspective, what is digital marketing?
Oh, it's anything online.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. If I had my time again, would I call it State of Social? Probably not, because it's not just social media. But social media doesn't exist anymore. Digital marketing doesn't. It's marketing, and these are the channels that we use. Mm-hmm. Online is purely one of it. Just like print is a channel, just like television is a channel. Right? It's all marketing. And I think that if you go and you silo them off, if you silo marketing off from sales, you have a problem. Sales and marketing go together, right? If you silo social off from your other channels, you have a problem. They all have to talk together, just like paid and organic have to talk. I was talking to one of my staff members the other day. We were talking about reels and whether or not how we could advertise our reels. And we have this one reel that we're about to post, but we have an issue. Do we put a trending song so that the reel gets picked up? Or do we put copyright music so we can advertise? Ooh. What's more important?
What did you do?
We went trending music.
Okay.
Because for us, in this instance, we want that reel to get picked up, and we will do dedicated advertising around the campaign, rather than trying to fit something into a box.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And again, the streamline that you mentioned there of the fact that marketing is the umbrella, and then the avenues of how we're going to achieve the marketing result is dependent on where you want it to be. We did our quarterly review, Brooke and I did yesterday, and we spent the whole day just looking at content. And content for me is not necessarily where I play. I'm not my happiest there. I'm my happiest in conversations, building relationships, and we'll work out the rest later. And I think that it was an interesting viewpoint, because we're looking at all of the avenues like we would look at revenue streams. You look at all your products and your services and your offerings, same way we look across our social media. Oh, I use social media, I shouldn't do that, shouldn't I?
No, but
let's do that then. But social media, but across our marketing platforms, which a lot of that is covered by social media, which I think is where the name, is where we get that name from. But being mindful of what are our other avenues, because it isn't just social media.
It's not just Facebook. What about email? I hate SMS marketing, but for some people that works. You know, that's a form of communication. That is a form of marketing. And I think that we have to look at all of it. And we are becoming also very fragmented, you know, as all of these niche communities pop up and some of these niche apps come up, you know, and especially like, don't even get me, especially because I can't talk about it, but don't get me started on the gaming and that soft gaming and the gaming communities that people are in. You know, I was talking to someone earlier today, and as someone in sales, this will resonate with you. You know, we used to talk about customer personas, right? So I've got 2 British men. They're in their 70s. They've been married multiple times, had multiple children. You'd be like, cool, I can sell to them, right? Mm-hmm. Problem is one is King Charles and one is Ozzy Osbourne, right? Very, very different men. But off that first description, sound the exact same.
Yeah.
Right? So customer personas don't work the way that they used to. Mm-hmm. Sure, there are certain things that King Charles and Ozzy Osbourne will like. It's the same. But we can't market to them the same way that we used to. We have to find their individual, unique things and go that way. Because that mass marketing, that broadcast of just, you know, spray and pray just doesn't work like it used to. Mm-hmm. And that's where social media or digital or any of that comes in, and it's amazing. But it also allows us to almost become too fragmented. I think you gotta find that happy medium.
Yeah. You know? And I guess then that fragmentation comes if you don't have an overall strategy to be able to bring those together. And I think in my experience, that's probably been our missing link. You know, in the first years was around, we didn't really have a strategy. It was, let me just see what I need to be doing on Instagram. Let's do it on Instagram. And then I know LinkedIn's my happy place. So I can do what I need to do on LinkedIn. But then when we become a business and then we have people that work within the team and then we've become a brand, that changes again from not just me talking about sales, but to the business talking about sales. And again, if you look at your multiple projects and businesses that you work on, that now becomes, you know, what do you want to be known for and what do you want to be saying in the market as well? Yeah,
and you know, and how do you identify between them? You know, so I don't want to talk about myself in the third person, but Meg Coffey has, you know, multiple brands and projects. How, when we do photo shoots, team photo shoots, they're color coded. So the team knows if I'm in yellow, that means that that's a coffee and tea photo. If I'm in blue, that's a different company. Oh. Right? And now you, the odd person, would never know that, but you would subliminally, because when you go, and everyone's going to go and look at coffee and tea Instagram, everything's yellow and blue, but it's different, right? So there's the ways that you can do your branding and the ways that you can do your things and these subliminal things to identify who you are. Totally came out of left field on that. But you know, when you are talking about your brand and segmenting and selling yourself, there are little things that you can do that, I mean, we use color.
But without a strategy, that wouldn't exist.
No. That would become a tactic.
Yes.
And I think that that's where a lot of people get themselves messed up, is they don't understand the difference between strategy and tactics. For us, the strategy is that we use color and we use other things. Nobody notices. So here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing for you that no one knows about State of Social, right? And this is a strategic thing. And this is the thing that makes State of Social amazing. We touch. Well, I shouldn't say touch, but I do mean touch. We elevate. We get all the senses going. Okay? So State of Social is a sensory experience. And you're like, but Meg, what? Okay. Sight, Optus Stadium, we don't allow banners, right? Because we want Perth. We want you to see. We want you to see and take it in. It's not about advertising. It's not about in your face. It's just take it in and see the speakers and take it in, right? Sound, we're sponsored by Nova. So we have a DJ in the morning. I have the best playlist that I play, and it's all the music that we went to high school with. So it's all the stuff that we love, right? Music is extremely important to us. Taste. I spend so much money on food, right? There's so much good food. All day coffee, barista coffee. Like, what flavor coffee do you want? You can have that. None of this like only white or black, right? We have all the milks. We have lactose-free milk. I get my own box of lactose-free milk so that I make sure I get my coffee.
So you're set.
It's fantastic, right? Touch, puppies, right? So you get to touch puppies, right?
Still smiling about the puppies.
Smell. We scent the room. We put sandalwood into the room. Sandalwood, we grow sandalwood in Western Australia, but also sandalwood encourages brain power, learning, openness, and things like that. Now, I don't talk about that publicly. I don't need to go out there and be like, hey guys, did you know that we get all 5 senses going? But we do. It's a very strategic thing that I do and make sure that it is very important. All my staff know, all the suppliers know. But it's one of those things that people just don't know, but it elevates the experience. It's strategic.
That comes into what that triggers for me is it's not about what I say, but it's how I made you feel. And that's very similar to the experience you've just described there, is that we can tell everybody that you're going to come and you're going to have a sensory experience, but no one's really going to give a shit until I'm in the room and I feel the feels and I come away going, wow, like that was insane. And one of the people that actually recommended me to go to your event, she booked into Crown for 3 nights and she said, I am immersing myself in the experience.
Oh, I love that.
And she went all in because she was like, I don't want to walk away from this. I went last year and it was great, but I felt like I went home and was like, oh, like now what? Like, again, so coming back to your sensory experience is that they will walk away going, I've gone somewhere now where I don't have the same sensory experience. I'm not getting the sights and the sounds and the food and the feels. But if I then immerse myself in a different environment that allows me to continue the immersion, the results happen. And that's why boot camps are so successful and why ongoing coaching and ongoing engagements and projects that you work with businesses on are so successful, because the one hit one and done doesn't give you that.
No.
So again, I find that really fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your insider tips.
No worries.
Everyone that's going is going to be like, what can I smell? Sandalwood. That is sandalwood. Giving away all the facts.
Yeah, but it is those little things. But those, when we talk about what makes State of Social special, or when you talk about what makes a really good marketing campaign, it is the little things. When I talk to my staff about how can we be better, because I'm a perfectionist and I have to tell them all the time, you're doing a good job. It's me that wants better. You've done a fantastic job. It's me that doesn't think it's good enough, right? But at the same time, it's those little 1%ers that we do that are what make us so good, or what make us the ones that win the awards or make us have the respect that we do. And it's the 1%ers that nobody notices, but it is that paying attention to capitalization, paying attention to style guides, paying attention to, that's not the font we use. I can pick a font a mile away. That's the wrong font, you've used the wrong weight. And a lot of people would let those kinds of things slip. And you can, it's fine. But those are the things that make the difference between me and you, or my event and your event, or my business and your business, I think.
Yes, and it's those subliminal messages that give you that experience, that elevate that experience, and where sets you apart from who you are as Meg and who somebody else is. And I can totally see that. And I think, again, if we look at then what's made the event so successful, and I guess that's not just what you do, so again I want to dive into a little bit of that as well, but what do you think has allowed you to stay at the pinnacle of the social media conference in Australia, but also continue to grow and continue to attract these different people?
I love it when someone says no, or someone says I can't do it. Yeah. One of my favorite was when I think it was the very first year I was doing it, and we reached out to Lendy to do some sponsorship, and the marketing manager replied, sorry, we don't sponsor regional conferences.
Regional?
Yeah, in Perth. We don't sponsor regional conferences. Cool, I'm in a capital city. You're one of the biggest lenders. Glad to know that's how you feel about us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are they sponsoring this shit?
Oh no, I would never go back to them. They wouldn't get a look in. And that's it. I've got the memory of an elephant. And I remember how you made me feel. And I remember how you treated me. So if you want a piece of it, remember that as well.
Yeah, come in. Okay, so for you it's the no, it's the challenge of where you want to get to. If we ask the people that have been every single year, what would they say?
As to what makes it good?
Yeah.
Or what? Oh.
Why do they keep coming back?
Because it just gets better. What gets better? Everything. I mean, we do activations and they're fun. Like, I think one year we had a chiropractor and he did posture checks. because every single marketer you can't see us because we're on a podcast, but we all sit, you're listening and you're sitting, you all just sat up straight,
me included.
Yeah, because we're horrible at it, right? So he came into Cairo and he did, posture checks for us.
Wow.
We do the puppies. We do, we did LinkedIn headshots last year. We do things that I give free coffee. I think that you don't have to pay for your food. Yes. Every conference you go to, I won't mention names, but there was a few events in Perth last year where you had to pay for lunch and then you had to pay for your own coffee. And their ticket prices are more than mine. I give you barista coffee, not filter coffee, barista.
You know how to speak to the marketers. They're like, you just give us barista coffee and we're there.
Yeah.
Especially in Perth, we're very much coffee people, and I'm sure Melbourne people will be like, hell no, you're not. Yeah. But definitely the coffee, and speaking of coffee, I found that to be my biggest lead generator when I first moved to Australia. I didn't know anybody, had no network of anybody. I had my 2 cousins and my boyfriend at the time. And I worked for a company that wasn't necessarily very well known. And I leveraged you drink coffee, I know you drink coffee, 20 minutes is all I need, and if you don't like what I've got to say, you've got a free coffee, you never have to talk to me again. Yeah. There was a lot more strategic communication around that, just a caveat as a sales coach, there is more around that. But again, leverage what's going to work and leverage what people actually want, because the moment you have to go and buy a coffee, even though in the grand scheme of things it's $4.50, maybe $8, depending on what you're drinking or where you're getting it from. But you need to know how that made you feel to go away and do that in that bigger view and bigger picture. And I think that comes back to what you're creating as an experience.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember I don't do it anymore, but I remember when I was first getting started. Actually, I still do it. I still do it. I don't do it. No, I still do it. At the beginning of the year, I just do it differently now. I remember when I was first getting started in Perth and I didn't know a lot of people and I was trying to build my network. And then again, when I was trying to build my business, now my last name's Coffey. I have it a little bit easier than you, right? But I would send emails to people that I had no business meeting with, as in they were so far out of my reach. But I just wanted to meet you and I just needed to know you and right? And I'd just send them an email, go coffee with coffee. Can I buy you a coffee?
Yeah.
And they go, what do you want? And I go, I don't want anything from you. I just want to meet you. I might need something from you down the line, but right now I just want to meet you. And it was amazing how many people, they were astounded that I didn't want anything, but I would have quite a few coffees. I'd set about 10 a year that I wanted to get. And I would, probably get 8. And it was amazing. And there's still people that are in my network now. And I started to go, I don't do that anymore. But I realized I do, because there are still people that I'm intimidated by and I want to meet. And, I did it recently with someone, again, that I had no business being able to catch up with. And I was just like, coffee with coffee? Do you have a chance? Do you have 15 minutes that I could buy you a coffee? There's a lot of power in that.
There is.
Especially if you don't want anything from them.
Yes, exactly. There's 2 points there that I want to raise, is that you mentioned there that you don't want anything from them, but let's be honest, maybe later on down the line, maybe I will, if they, again, if that question arises, because I think the mistake that we often see in sales is that we lie by then saying I don't want anything from you, but actually I'm coming out to meet you to see whether I can sell something to you, and let's just call a spade in my world. And that's, again, I think that's there's something there, and being genuine in the fact that if you want to connect with somebody just for the reason of connecting, tell them that. Yeah. If you want to meet because you're like, I'm inspired by what you do, or I'm amazed at what you created, or I saw this recently, I'd love to buy you a coffee and just be in your presence. If that is what you want, use it.
Yeah.
Take it there. The second thing I want to take you up on there is that you mentioned that you've got these 10 people.
Yeah.
And this makes me really happy. So you can see the smiles. It's like nearly the puppy smiles again, because we now get to talk about sales just for a moment. But when we think of those 10, you are, if we look at where you are now, people would say, Meg, she's so successful and she's created all these brands and she doesn't need to go out to people anymore. But I think as we move through our careers and our business and our accolades and where we get to know our maturity in our expertise, that I think the goals for the people just get bigger. And, I had a voicemail I had a fangirl moment 2 nights ago. I got a voicemail from an author in America. I'm a big fan. I'm not going to say who. I'm going to keep people on the hook here. And I'm a big fan. I got it, and I got up at 5:30, and I quickly checked to make sure if any meetings have changed for my 7 a.m. meetings. Quickly checked that. Nothing. Had this voicemail, America, and I was like, play. it's the guy, the author, asking to find out about me from an email that we've sent out. I did this face, and I went straight into the ensuite, and I was like, Craig, I just got the voicemail, you know, and again, I went all high pitched, and, you know, because for me, that what, how, what, like, why are they coming back? But if we don't set those big goals, we just stay where we are as static. And I think, you know, that for us, where we get to, and some people go, why, you know, you still reach out? I was like, yeah, I do. I still do my BD calls. Oh, yeah. I still cold call. I still reach out to people that are way out of my reach. Also, maybe I might have thought so, or 5 years ago, me would have been like, oh my God. Whereas now, I'd be like, yeah, that's normal.
Oh,
and you know, but again, we want to be wowed. We want to stretch and reach, because that's how we keep excelling. So, just out of interest, for the 10, and do you have 10 every year? Is that how you do
that's
it?
That's how it was.
That's
yeah,
how it was. Okay. And how did you pick the 10?
I don't know. They were people that were doing interesting things, people that were out of my reach, people that were, I don't know. I mean, I remember, you know, they were people that wasn't coming across in my day-to-day life. I want to say that I had no business meeting, but that puts me down.
Yeah, that's
right.
True, yeah.
Because I had every right to meet them, and I was just as good, maybe not as equal, but I had every right to meet them. They were people, you know. But I do this like when I go to Sydney now, right? Like, and I'll message people and I'll be like, hey, you know, I did this, say, for example, like to Mark Fennell, right? I'm on his podcast, Download This Show. And I'm in Perth, we record down the line. And so the last time, you know, this is ages ago, but one of the times I went to Sydney, I just messaged him and I said, hey, I'm coming to Sydney. We've never actually met. Can we meet? Mm-hmm. And he was like, of course, let me buy you a coffee. And now, you know, I've got Mark's phone number, and like, we don't text, we're not friends, but it's like,
he's a connection.
He's a connection, yeah. And he's somebody that I respect, and he's somebody, you know, and I remember it was quite funny. This is a little bit funny, and Meg's going to be really girly about this one, but I remember there was a week that I had Mark Fennell text me and Jules Lund text me in 1 week, and I just looked at my phone and I went, this is not my world, and who is Meg Coffey, and who am I? Because these are just two people that, little Meg Coffey who still thinks she's a little backpacker or whatever and has no right to be in the media world, is actually on a regular radio show with Jules Lund and is on a regular podcast with Mark Fennell. So I have every right to have these conversations, but what are they doing on my phone?
Yes, because you have that moment of being there. But if you didn't do that, we would never, you know, you would have never got to that point. You'd never be exposed to the people we're exposed to. And I think, you know, I often get asked, what's one tip you would give me? I'd be like, ask the question you really want to ask. Ask them. Go and ask them for a coffee. Go and ask them and say, look, I've got one question for you. Can I buy your coffee and ask you this one question, and then I'll leave you alone? Because so much opportunity comes from that, because just because they are where they got to where they are because of doing things that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And they are going to be open generally to people being in their orbit, to people, you know, sharing that intel and that information. And when we go about it, we all win, because you and I win, because we do great things with it, with our people and our clients and our connections, but they give something back and help go to the next level.
Yeah. And I think as long as you are genuine and you're authentic and you tell them exactly why you're reaching out to them, and it might be for sales, but say that, right? So you're genuine, you're authentic, and you're honest, you will go so far in life. Mm. Life might be hard. You know, I do have a hard life. I can't lie. You see it on my face. Like, you just, you know, I'm as authentic as they come. And that does make my life a little bit more difficult, because I can rub people the wrong way. But at the same time, you always know exactly where you stand with me. Mm. You always know. There's no bull between us, right? Like, there's no you're never left wondering with me.
A spade's a spade.
Yeah.
in my vocabulary.
Yeah. For good or bad.
Yes. Yeah.
And you know what? Could I have more friends? Sure. Could I have more money? Sure. But you know what? I'm pretty happy. And as I am moving towards a certain age in a couple of weeks, I'm having those life reflections, and I'm going, you know what? Yes, I could have done things differently in my life, but I'm pretty happy. My dog and I are pretty happy.
And we talked about this off air before. Us and dogs, we're pretty happy. There isn't much else you need. in life to put a smile on your face. And if you wonder what Meg does in winter, I now know. So, if you see her at State of Social, ask her. What do you do in winter with the dog? And, conversation starter right there.
Exactly.
So aside State of Social, again, I think when we first got you signed up for the podcast, it was all of the things that you're doing, and it was like, wowzers, where do we start? What do we ask about? And again, selfishly, I've taken State of Social.
That's okay.
But aside to that, you've got your agency work, you've also got some of the other workshops that you're running. So from an agency perspective, again, I said at the beginning of this podcast to you that I love to give tips and tools and advice, and obviously people that work with you and people that are engaging with you will get that from you. But for those people that are listening to this, be like, tell me something about digital marketing, or marketing as we're now calling it, from our conversation, the umbrella of marketing. Where should people be focusing? What should be on their radar between now and the end of financial year for Australians? 3 months left. How would we generate revenue? How do we generate some interest in our marketing space?
I think what people are really, oh gosh, where do I start? My brain firing. Oh, yes. Okay. Stop playing on rented land is something that we hear a lot, right? But I think it's interesting, and I think that, yes, you have to be on social media, right? You have to be on social media, because if I can't find you online, I cannot find you. It's that simple. You don't exist. Mm-hmm. Do you need to be on Blue Sky and Mastodon and Twitch and YouTube and no. You need to be where your audience is. And you also need to be where you can sustain. Because social media is the long game. Playing on these platforms is the long game. It is about consistency. You cannot post and ghost. Okay? I'm throwing all the jargon at you.
Post and ghost.
Right? But you can't. So you need to be really realistic with yourself and go, what is my capacity? What is my team's capacity? And we probably have 3 things that we can do, right? So that's going to be our website /EDM, Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook and LinkedIn, or, whatever. I, Meg, am not on Facebook because I don't like Facebook. But that doesn't mean that that's not where my audience is. We've got a client, and they have, again, our 2 British men, right? Everyone is their customer. And I think a lot of businesses could say, but Meg, everybody's my customer. And that they are. But, for this one client that we have, Facebook is the yummy mummies, it's the parents, it's the older generation. So the content that we're putting on Facebook is for them. That content does not work on Instagram. You cannot just put the same piece of content on all the same platforms. So unless you're going to take the time to create bespoke content, now it could be the same photo, but the caption has to change. Okay, so let me clear that up.
Before everybody starts messaging you, what do you mean, Meg? Yeah.
Right? There's certain things we can repurpose. We can definitely repurpose content, but captions have to change. There are things we tweak to be platform specific, right? But our Instagram audience is all the 20-somethings that love Sunday brunches and bottomless things and hanging out by the pool. So if we're putting 20-something bikini shots on Facebook, the moms don't love that so much because they don't get to wear the bikinis as often.
Yes.
Different content, right? Mm-hmm. All the same resort, all the same place, just changing the content to be appropriate. So my tips, what I'm trying to say is, don't overextend yourself. Think about what it is. Think about what your audience is. Think about what your audience wants. It's not what you want. Meg doesn't want Facebook. That doesn't mean I ignore it. I'm still there, right? I don't post on my personal page, but Meg Coffey, in air quotes, has a professional page that professional things get posted on. Okay? But back to that rented land thing, TikTok's about to be banned in the US, or so they say, right? It has been voted, the bill has been passed in Congress that TikTok must divest from ByteDance or it will be banned. Right? The Facebook news ban in Canada, where they don't get news on Facebook in Canada, and what we saw happen in Australia a couple of years ago and could be coming here. Great examples of this don't build on rented land. How you going with your website? It doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be an $80,000 website, it can be a simple one-pager. Does it have your contact details on it? Does it have what you do, what you are? An email address, a physical address if you're a business or a service provider type situation. How can I get in touch with you? If you don't have that website and an ability to collect email addresses to grow a database, you are stuck in 2015.
Yeah.
You know, I think email marketing that's one of the things that we definitely are focusing on a lot, because we can control that. Some more jargon for you: there is no algorithm in an email.
Yes. And I think, you know, we mentioned this before, is that everything's changing, so keeping up to date with it. You don't know what's going to be here tomorrow, and if you've got all of your eggs in one basket over on rented land, as you've described it today, then building a business on that is not recommended, because you don't own that. You don't know what's going to happen with that. And so I think, you know, email has been something that I've certainly heard a lot of over the years, and it's something that I love being in. And for me, again, all the things you're talking about are my happy places. Give me a website, give me a phone, give me an email, and we're sweet. And again, you know, LinkedIn, as I mentioned before, happy place, very happy to play there, generate a lot of interest leads, you know, opportunities, build connections. It's again what I use when I go to Sydney or I go to a different country. I'm like, okay, who are the 10 people I can meet here? Let's go and leverage that. So coming back to the email position, are you talking like newsletter or are you talking something else?
Newsletters.
Yeah.
I mean, what's hilarious to me is that State of Social's number one sales drivers are emails. Now, our emails are brilliant. You've bought your ticket, so you won't get to see them. But our emails are phenomenal. I have the best copywriter, and he's been with me for 6 years now, and he just gets it, and he knows exactly how to write them. And it's a skill. It is a skill, and we have worked hard, and he is never allowed to leave me. And I pay him very well so that he won't ever leave me. But it is, they're email, they're newsletters, you know, but newsletter writing is a skill, knowing when to send and how to send and the length of them and the things to include. And, you know, email marketing is, you know, it is a skill, but I think it is extremely powerful. And people, it's interesting, you know, at State of Social, we send a lot of emails, and my copywriter, when he gets the schedule, he's like, "Holy crap, Meg, that's a lot." And I'm like, "Yeah, you only get emails if you want them, right?" And that's where it's important with email marketing. Fastest way to make people mad is to just spam them. We don't spam you. You only get our emails if you've told me you want them. How do you tell me you want them? You click, you open. You are engaging with them, not a problem, I will send you more, right? And then the second you buy, you don't get another one from me, provided you use the right email addresses, and it's all good.
Don't sign up with a different email is what you're saying here.
Correct, because otherwise you'll just mess all the flows up, and it's all your fault, not mine.
I always think this is part of like onboarding. Like, we automate as much as we can, as I'm sure every business is trying to do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if you don't do the step one, you're not going to get step two, or you're going to get the repeat reminders. If you don't adhere to the processes that are in place, it's a you problem.
Yeah.
In the nicest possible way.
Correct.
But okay, so email, so you're going to get the information, you're going to get it if you want it. So I think the thing that I guess really where I'm kind of my objection is that when it comes to newsletter, I feel like newsletter is a word that's overused, and it's something that I don't think I would sign up for if you said, "Here, do you want a digital marketing newsletter?" How do we stand out from being just another newsletter in just another industry to getting people to say yes to signing
All right, so like the State of Social newsletter, you go to our website, you get a pop-up at every angle until you've had the pop-up. There's so much. So I spent my entire Christmas break reworking everything on State of Social. I'm really excited for this year. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening. I'm such a nerd, but it's worth it, right? It's because we're marketers, and apparently all this stuff works. I have my fingers crossed. They tell us. But, you know, you sign up to the State of Social newsletter because you want information about us. Our pop-up is like, do you want to know about the speaker the second they're released? Sign up. So it's all about that pop-up. It's all about, and people are like, I hate pop-ups. Do you know what the number one conversion for newsletters? Pop-ups, right? And people are like, oh, you sent too many. You have so many unsubscribes. Do you know how big my email list is growing at the moment? I don't care if you unsubscribe. Because if you unsubscribe, it means I'm not for you. I'm happy with you unsubscribing.
And when you said there about I hate pop-ups, I think a lot, like, this ties me straight back into sales, of people like, I hate emails, or I hate phone calls, or I hate this. You're not your ideal client.
Yeah.
So ring somebody that is, because they will be okay with a phone call if that's the avenue that we've designed for you. So again, same thing with pop-ups is don't knock off a pop-up because you don't like it. If the data is telling you this is what works,
Yeah.
then use that. Okay, so pop-up number 1, conversion.
Yeah, so, we definitely use the pop-ups. We drip feed, we do things in stories, sign up for our newsletter, like, for coffee and tea. Our newsletter, it's a pop-up, but the one there, why would you want a newsletter from a digital marketing agency? We put something on it really funny that says, we get enough emails as is, promise we won't spam you, and we only send it irregularly as is.
Oh.
So it's like, we'll only send you when we have cool stuff to tell you.
Yes, otherwise we're not sending it.
Yeah.
So you then believe that that's suitable for an organisation that isn't sending regular, because then we look at social media and then the plan is consistency, show up every Monday, be there. Emails not so much?
Well, no. I mean, we send the coffee and tea newsletter monthly.
Yes.
Is it on the 15th? No.
Okay.
It's at some point during the month we send the newsletter.
Okay.
And it's just what we got up to this month.
I like that.
Yeah, and we talk about what our clients are doing this month. Like we just did the April newsletter, and we're getting ready to launch some things for the clients. We have a Mother's Day promo in it. Like there's, why would you care about what coffee and tea is doing if you're not a client? I don't know, because you're interested, because you're a competitor, because you just care. We've got a couple hundred people on our coffee and tea database. I'm happy with that. Doesn't need to be huge.
Yeah.
I've got 30,000 on my State of Social.
Yes.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Right? With SM Perth, with that database, we offer you a 15% discount on courses if you sign up. There's all different ways to get people to sign up. I agree with you that the word newsletter is overused. I think you have to, I think it's like social media broad, like we use it as a broad term.
Yeah.
I think there's people, there's a newsletter, which is like a monthly update or a weekly update.
Yeah.
But then there's also like sales emails, and then there's like, oh gosh, we could
communication.
Yeah.
Of all descriptions.
Yeah, we could go for hours just on email marketing and how to do email marketing. That's something I really enjoy, just because of just the workflows and it's just I
think the bit that then just kind of makes everyone else's brain stop, because again we do a lot of workflows within our emails, and I'm like, I need to come back. This is too much.
Go walk around the block.
Yeah, come back, freshen up, let's go again, because I want this to go from here to here to here to here, and if you do that, I want it to do that. And
then when it works,
and then when it doesn't.
I know you want to throw the laptop off the bridge, but when it works, you're just like, it's the greatest thing ever, and you send the test and it flows and you see it, and it's, oh my goodness, and
beautiful.
The joy.
The joy.
The suppliers that help you get it there, you're like, I love you, can I send you gifts? And just,
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so email is still there, and I think again, if I look at sales basics, we go back to again, and the reason why we're talking today is because sales and marketing are hand in hand. They help you do the other job better, and it allows us to be able to reach more, and our job then is converting the anomalies, the ones that don't just want to buy from the email, but hey, let's just check in. Did you get this email? I saw that you opened this. Tell me where you're at. Tell me what's going on. Tell me how your business is operating. Yeah. Can we still support you? And that then piece then comes in together. But I think when we're looking at the basics of sales, we go back to the fundamentals, the stuff that books were written of 20 years ago is still very relevant today, with some nuances, absolutely, and that's why I'm here, to be able to bring it into the 21st century, and give you the differences and the trends and what we're seeing and what's working and the data that's we can geek out on. But from that email perspective, is that email's been around for a really long time, and if we look at the businesses that are 20 years old, they started with email, and they started on an email database because they didn't have Instagram, they didn't have Facebook, they didn't have a meta campaign back-end system that told you everything. So email was the only way you did it, unless you were prepared to pick up the phone. So email got us there quicker and en masse in a shorter period of time, and phone call allowed us to do the other cool things where we learn from people. So it's almost going back to what worked.
Yeah, I remember two things on that. I remember when I first started my business, I went to visit my dad. My dad was a recruiter in the 80s, and God, this story makes me laugh. It's just my dad, and I love my dad so much. So my dad's been retired for a very long time. So the fact that he was able to produce this as fast as he could, but he's like, all right, Meg, all right, so I'm going to tell you how it's done. And I'm like, okay, Dad, yes, you tell me how I'm going to run my digital marketing business, please. Let's do this. And he comes rustling out of his office, and he puts down in front of me call sheets, like old school from the 80s call sheets. He's like, you need to fill these every day. I want one of these filled every day. And I'm like, Dad, that's not how it's done anymore. He's like, that is how it's done, Meg. And he's calling me by my full name and everything, like proper dad, daughter.
Dad mode.
Like, we are talking business, right? And I'm like, thank you, Dad. I appreciate it, Dad. I mean, my dad's successful. So you do listen. Like, you want to take what he's saying. But I'm also going, Dad, we don't do cold calling anymore. Like, I don't, not for me. I don't do cold calling. And if I were to try and fill a call sheet, are you kidding? Like, thank you very much, Dad. And I love it. But it's just not how it's done anymore. But it is, and back in the 80s, that was how it's done. And as a recruiter, and what he was doing, he would pick up a phone or a Yellow Pages or whatever, and he would call. Are you looking for a job? Can I fill you this? Those kinds of things. Very different to how we do it. And to one of the other things that you said, I work with a lot of students, and sometimes they're all like, "Oh, I'm going to take a social media class in school."
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I'm like, but why? And I'm like, because it'll be out of date by the time that you are learning it. And I remember one of those similar things happened to me, and I was taking a course, and my dad's company was in the textbook that I was being taught. And I never went back to that course because I was like, you can't teach me anything. Like, you can't.
You've evolved past this point. Yeah.
You can't. And so they go, well, if I'm not taking social media courses, Meg, what am I meant to take? You take English, you take humanities, you take psychology, you take basic business. All those things that have been around for forever because they haven't changed. Humanities, how the human psyche works, hasn't changed. The tools we use to reach it have. That I can teach you quickly. That we can learn on the job. Psychology, go understand a human, you will go so far in marketing and sales.
And sales, yeah. And it's funny because I did communication studies. That was that was what I did. But I did it at college level. I didn't go to university.
Yeah.
I didn't want to write about it. I don't want to learn what you're going to teach me through these textbooks. I want to go into the real world and do it for myself and work it out from there. And I think, again, it's looking at what is going to help you get there. And I think now, everything is so accessible thanks to marketing and social media and online platforms. We can learn from people that we have seen do it and go, I want to do what they're doing, or want to learn the way that they've done it or the way that they teach it, and go and do that regardless of where they are in the world.
Yeah.
And that, I think, speaks volumes above and beyond the marketing degrees and what it is that we can be taught in streamline education.
Yeah, I think education is changing. I grew up in the US. Obviously going to university wasn't an option, as in, like, you go to university, you're an American, it's what you do.
Yeah.
And the world that was also 20 years ago. The world is changing as far as the need for university and things like that. I think that's up for its personal decision, whether or not you go. But I think if you are going to do it, if you are investing in your education, I think invest in the things that be selective in what you invest in. Generally, even at my age, I'm very selective at what I invest in. It's my money. I worked really hard to earn it. And if I'm going to spend it on something, I need to make sure that I'm going to get a return on investment for it.
And especially time as well,
Time is that, and that time
in money is thing, but time, I think, is a commodity that often we let run wild until we think about it. We're like, hang on a minute, I gave what amount of hours to achieve what?
Yeah, I've had a house cleaner for, I don't know, how long have I been in Australia? I've had a house cleaner for a very, very long time, even when I probably couldn't afford a house cleaner. And everyone has scolded me and told me I'm pot, whatever. I don't care what you think of me for having a house cleaner. Do you know what I pay them versus how long it would take me and what I can do in those hours? And also, screw the pay, the peace of mind that I get. I come home and I have a clean house, and what that does for my psyche and it allows me to do. Time is something that I think so many people, it's the people that will drive out to Costco and wait in line for 45 minutes to save 2 cents on gas. Is your time worth the $30 that you're saving? To me, it's not. I can do a lot more in that time.
In that time, agree. And interestingly, I did the, on New Year's Day, I spent the day, so again, I gave my time for Brendan Burchard. He did a growth day, and I think people have mixed reviews on Brendan, but I was intrigued as to who goes to these things and what they're there for. So I didn't go in person, that was in LA, but I was here on my sofa with my laptop and my AirPods in, and I'm ready to go. And one of the things that he shared, or actually he had a guest sharing, which is Natalie Ellis from Boss Babe, she talked about batching and about being more effective with your time, and coming back to exactly what you just said there in terms of waiting in line, in queue to save X amount of cents on fuel so that you can save $30. And I think for the people that can generate more revenue in our business, especially in sales, or in roles where our time can be given back, where we can find more, we can do more with that time. We can't necessarily make time back, but we can generate more revenue in that time. To be really mindful of where that comes from. And she shared about, reviewing high performing people, and they got the cleaners, they got the cooks, they got the subscriptions of everything. They booked in, and one of the hacks that I've taken on was to book all my appointments for the year. So hair, hair, beauty appointments, dental appointments, car service, booked.
Is that a thing that I didn't know that.
Apparently, high performing people, they therefore don't need to think about it. So then when they get to the end, they go, you've run out. We've got no more appointments for you. Awesome, book the next 12 in.
Yeah.
Because I get my eyebrows done every month. Yeah. I don't need to think about that.
No.
It just gets done.
It's just booked in, and then I book my life around it. Yeah. Those appointments don't move.
No. No. And worst case scenario, I then end up having to change them because I'm traveling. Yeah. Then you just change that one. Yeah. You don't need to think about the rest of it. And so she talked about these little mini hacks throughout your day, week, month, year, of how to get more time back, and it blew my mind.
I didn't even because I do that. All my appointments are all booked. Done.
Tick.
Because then and it's quite funny. My hairdresser and I talk about this, and it's like you're popular. You're hard to get into. Like my Christmas appointments have been booked since already.
Yes.
Like I'm done for the year. It's because it's hard to get into. You book these things, but then I also don't have to. I can plan my year.
Think about it. But it's something off your mental load, and I think a lot of people talk about women, and especially mums that are trying to juggle work and children. They've got their mental load is so high that to find something where we can take that away throughout their lives, and again, personal lives, business lives, whatever you want to attribute it to. And so now I assess everything I do.
I have everything booked. You are so right. I do. I just keep it all booked in. My dentist, my everything. How funny. I never knew that. I was just habit for me, but there you go. Maybe, but that's a good habit. Like I did it without realizing.
Really good habit.
But it does. And for me, that mental load of knowing that I don't have to clean my house, it's a freedom that allows me to do other things, and it's not that I'm too good. I'm capable of doing it. Yeah. It's just that there's other things I can do.
Yeah. It also looks better when someone else does.
Oh, so much better.
And I guess that could be attributed to outsourcing. And again, but you and I, we both work with businesses that outsource things to us.
Yeah.
And we do the same thing. And, we outsource other things to our team or to outsource opportunities. There is so much that we can be doing to be smarter, to work smarter, so that we can do the things that we're really good at and essentially come back to the things that we know are going to work, or find out from people the things that are going to work, so that we can be better and do more in the world, whether that be in our world of what we do or within the world itself. I think are some great points made, and so I really appreciate you sharing all of your insights. I mean, I think we could go on. I think Meg and I are looking at each other like, what time is it?
We've been here for so long, we could go for hours in a good way.
Yeah. So, anything you want to leave us with, anything you want people to go and find you or do, take action on after today?
So this is the hard one, because I used to be like, find me on Twitter. No. Well, I mean, still, but I'm not like I was the queen of Twitter. I was everything. My whole life was, I found all my speakers for State of Social off Twitter. Twitter was my thing, my jam.
Yeah. Now what's your jam?
I don't have one because Elon messed it all up.
Oh, Elon.
And I'm just not into Instagram because I just can't do it. I mean, I'm on it, but...
What about LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn, maybe.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn, find me.
Maybe get you fired up on LinkedIn again?
Look, I'm pretty much everywhere. If you just Google Meg Coffey, you will find a channel that you... Pick your channel that you're most comfortable on.
Okay.
I'm probably there.
Yes, okay, amazing. Well, thank you for sharing so much. I cannot wait for State of Social. So if you're listening and you are coming, find me. I'll be there. Drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'd love to find out why you're going and what you're excited about. And maybe we'll meet at the puppy station, because I'm going to be there for 2 days at the puppy station.
It's only puppies are only there for 1 day.
1 day, okay, all right. I'll be there.
I'll be there for 2 days.
Yeah, you'll be there. We'll come and hang out with you for 2 days.
Look, there's about 999 other people there, but come play.
But come play, come hang out, come say hi. Thank you for your insights, your wisdom. It's been fascinating to get to know a little bit more about the inside of State of Social and of Meg. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was really fun.